We optimize hydration, movement, supplements, and sleep, but most people completely ignore the air they're breathing. And when your air is off, your body feels it first. The Blue Signature Air Purifiers by Blue Air quietly remove airborne pollutants, odors, smoke, and allergens, supporting deeper sleep, better recovery, and clearer focus. It's the most customizable air purifier you can get, with exclusive accessories designed to fit your space and your style. Visit blueair.com and use code SIGNATURE30 to elevate your wellness routine.
Tyler Reddick here from 2311 Racing. Another checkered flag for the books. Time to celebrate with Chumba. Jump in at ChumbaCasino.com. Let's Chumba.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See T&Cs. 21 plus. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
Some things never cease to amaze me. Sunrises, hitting a golf ball straight, and the overwhelming ignorance of the common person. Here's a thought. Use Form Bs to determine classification. This, in fact, is competitive balance. Season 8 of Sun Coaches Podcast, where not everyone is funny or tells funny stories, but everyone has a story. Welcome to Sun Coaches Podcast, Season 8, and today I'm excited to be joined by the current head coach of the Brunswick Pirates, Dr. Byron Slack. Thanks for being on with me.
Hey, great. Thanks for having me.
Well, Coach, I know you were grew up in a military family and as also a veteran yourself. Where all were you? Did you get to go when you were a kid?
Well, funny, my dad was Air Force. You get kind of stay in the same spot for a while. So I was born and raised in Anchorage, Alaska on Elmendorf Air Force Base. And spent 13 years up in Alaska. And then it was a great time, great place to grow up at. Of course, dating myself, that was well before all the different things you have to do now, but there was so much to do outside without being, cooped up in the house. The little abandoned ski resorts all over the neighborhood had a bike trail. If you ever get a chance, look up the bike trail in Anchorage. You can go anywhere in the city by bike, and they spent millions of dollars way back in the day to pave these bike trails that went by all the lakes and whatnot. So, man, we would jump on our bikes and literally ride the whole day and go by all the little lakes, the little resorts and whatnot. So it was a great place to grow up.
You come from a pretty large family, don't you?
I do. I got 7 brothers. I'm the youngest of the 8 boys, no sisters.
Oh,
And
wow. And you're the baby.
yeah, I am. I actually have a twin brother who's 16 minutes older than me, but yeah, my oldest brother is only 11 years older than me. So my mom was like literally pregnant for the 60s, and uh, and my twin is, like I say, 16 minutes older than me. So yeah, we're a large family. Just nothing but boys, man. I look back on it. It was really cool growing up in the house with nothing but boys, and it was rough back then. I was the youngest of 8. And I always considered myself to be the biggest, wuss on the planet, That I go to school and the teacher would call my mom and say, "Man, that cat is just too rough." Right? What is he doing? I was like, "Yeah."
He's trying to survive. That's what he's
Yeah.
So where did you guys move to after Anchorage?
I moved to Atlanta, Georgia for 1 year, and then moved down further south Georgia to Dawson, Georgia. I went to school in Atlanta for Columbia High School for 1 year, and then moved to Dawson, Georgia, and finished out high school. Terrell County, right there on the side of Lee County, between Lee and Americus. So that's where my mother was originally from. So, due to unfortunately my mom and my dad splitting up right there at the beginning of high school, and we moved to Georgia. Uh, Me and a couple of my brothers moved to Georgia. Some of them stayed behind in Alaska. So stayed in Atlanta for one calendar year, then moved down to South Georgia and finished school in Dawson, Georgia. Greenway, Mighty Green Waves.
That's right. What Coach Huff was coach there for a long time when I was
Yeah.
in the county. He's retired
Yeah,
now. His mother was the
yeah,
superintendent there, I believe.
yeah. He came. How he was there probably from the mid '90s, maybe somewhere along there, up
Yeah.
until I guess maybe 6, 7 years ago, 7 or 8 years ago.
We always played, Terrell County as our scrimmage game at Early, and, because Coach Huff and Coach Wolf were such good friends, and,
Yeah.
Coach Huff was like, "I tell you what, if you have it at your place and you get all of our kids a chicken box from, Blakely Chicken, we'll come play to your place because he didn't want he
Yeah,
said he didn't wanna lie in the field, and he didn't want
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
he
yeah.
didn't wanna fool with it, so we used to always scrimmage them. So after high school, did you have an opportunity to play ball, or did you go in a different direction?
The unfortunately, my family situation was pretty, uh, God, like many of ours, wasn't the best by the time I graduated from high school. I played every sport, and I like most of us did back then. And oddly enough, the only real opportunity I had to go to college was on baseball. At that time, Shillman College asked me to come up there for a tryout and to see if they wanted to give me a scholarship. And I told my coach told me about it, and I go, "Are they going to come and pick me up and take me to the tryout and bring me home and do everything?" And he's like, "I doubt that." I was like, "Well, then I can't do it." So I didn't, that was my really only kind of opportunity. And I played baseball. Uh, I was kind of a late bloomer physically, but I started in baseball, every year of high school. No, my 10th grade year. And that kind of, ran its course. So I enlisted into the United States Navy right out of high school, man. And went in and for whatever. Again, my twin has always been a head taller than me ever since we were about 7 years old. And I got two of my brothers that I'm actually bigger than, but all my brothers are big, giant people. My mom and my dad were, and man, I was the last and the latest. I think as a freshman, I was 5'2", 127 pounds, uh, and even as a junior. As a sophomore, I was, I don't know, 5'4", 140 something, and I hit a growth spurt kind of going into high school and got in the military and was able to pull myself around a little better and just kind of gotten physically mature, probably more than anything. My spiritually got more mature. I was extremely fortunate to run into my commanding officer when I was in. Uh, he pulled me to the side, and I was playing on with some big base league teams. I was at NES Miramar, and that team was one of the top tier teams to make in basketball. So I was on that team, and he pulled me to the side and said, he played basketball at Duquesne University, I think. My commanding officer, he said, I think you're a college athlete, but you're not a college student. So, and he says, "Well, I know what you're doing running around here in San Diego." He said, and this was during wartime when, trying to get guys to stay in was a big deal. But he told me, he said, I think if you really set uh, tasks to do it, you might be a college athlete. So, took his advice and got out after 4 years, honorably discharged, and kind of the rest is history. Came back to Georgia, walked on at the University of West Georgia. Had a great career and made great friends for life. Man, it's so crazy. Me, Richie Finley, John Small, a bunch of guys that are coaching and we're coaching. We're kind of cycling ourselves out, but me, John Small, Andy Dyer, Richie Finley, um, Steve Robinson, Jake Cawthorn, and there's the list goes on. We're all teammates at West Georgia during that 4 year stint. So um, it was a great experience getting out of the military. I really appreciated it. having spent 4 years in the military and then being able to come play college football. It made my time. I relished it. I dare say I've appreciated it a little bit more than the average college football player, having known what was out there and having done what I did to be able to play college football. They got on scholarship finally. I was like, man, you guys have to pay me to leave. So that was before NIL.
I was about
I
to
was
say
like,
that's
oh,
about how they are now.
yeah. I was I got out. So getting me get this straight, I gotta just lift weights, give up, go to class twice a week, go to practice, and you guys are gonna pay for everything. I was like, well, heck, man. Uh, you
Yeah.
gotta, so that's my excuse for staying in college for 6 years. So
Hey, there's nothing wrong with it. Lots of people do it. So
right, right.
what did you know all along that you wanted to go into education and teach, or did you have a different major starting out? I mean, what was your
Man, that's a great question. I'm a believer for sure, and I guess it's our duty if you do believe to spread the word. I can't honestly say I go to church every Sunday and all that, but man, I think God puts people in your life for a particular reason. Uh, but to answer your question along those lines, I call myself going into physical therapy. I want to be physical therapist, and uh, education really wasn't on my radar as far as what to do. I want to be in physical therapy. I kind of didn't know it at the time, but I was kind of leaning towards the strength game. Somebody said to be a physical therapist, and that was right around the time uh, when I graduated in mid to going in the late '90s. The strength field was kind of moving into uh, a more almost a medical field. The strength coaches guys.
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. So sign up now at chumbacasino.com. That's chumbacasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Instead of being quote unquote rockhead, weight room guys, they started leaning towards these guys that were using the science and stuff behind why they were doing what they did in the weight room. So that's where I was leaning towards. And I was walking through the education center one day, and a woman stopped me in the education center, and she just her name was Dr. Joanne Pollard. She was a Catholic nun. I come to find out she was a Catholic nun for like 25 years, and then got out and then got into education. And first of all, she was taller than me. She's about 6 feet tall. And she just stops me and she said, "Are you Byron Slack?" And I'm just walking through the education building. And I went, "Yes, ma'am." And I'm thinking, she must have seen a newspaper article or something, and blah, blah, blah. And she says, "I saw a newspaper article on you the other day." And I was like, "Yes, ma'am." Yeah, it was, pretty good article. And she says, "In that article, it said that you were undecided in your major." And I go, I am." And she said, "Do you want to never have to uh, need a job ever again?" And I go, "Well, that sounds good." And she said, "You go right down that office. You tell them Dr. Pollard sent you down there. You're going to fill out the paperwork to be in education. You're going to go into special education." And I go, "What is that?" She says, "Don't worry about it. Do you not want to ever have to want for a job?" I said, "Yes, ma'am." So she said, "What's your GPA?" I said, "Well, it says, don't worry about it. You fill out the paperwork. They're going to put it on my desk, and you run the education center." And that was it. And I walked off, and one of my buddies was like, "Who's that lady?" I was like, "I have no idea who she was, but I guess I'm going into special education now, you know, because I mean, she just had that presence about her. I mean, you could imagine what the presence that you had to be a Catholic nun in New York City. I imagine at that point she'd been in 25 years, probably in the late 70s, through the 80s and 90s. You know what I mean? So, uh, and that's where I got into it, man. And it was cool. Not me and her were friends. I um, worked went did my student teaching with her. I got hired on as a sub, full time sub for her. Uh, and right before when I left college, so came back and finished back then we were on quarter system. I was a graduate assistant. She made me a graduate assistant for the education department. So I mean, me and her, and we've uh, talked and whatnot. She's one of those people, man, that God puts in your life and put me on that track. So I'm forever thankful for her.
So what was your first job out of college?
My first job out of college, I went to Dunwoody High School for 1 year. Actually, we graduated. We were on the quarter system, so I was a full-time sub at Carrollton Central High School. And then, right when I was getting out my senior year, fortunate, however you want to call it, I never really got to go through the recruiting process. Obviously, having gone to the military, and then getting out and walking on, and like I said, had a fairly decent career. Ended up being the first team All American in our school's history. And but I never got to go through the recruiting process. But when I got out of college and I was getting out, it was crazy because I actually got to go through the recruiting process a little bit then. My coach, a couple people has come down there, and word gets out, and man, I got a, uh, a young black male that's special education certified, has prior military experience. I mean, I'm dating myself. We had just got phones in our rooms back then. And I mean, my phone would ring off the hook. These coaches call, hey, you want to come down here and visit, see what we got? And man, I'd love for you to come and work for me. So it was kind of cool, my little part of the ability to have to experience the recruiting process a little bit. But I went to Dunwoody High School for 1 year, uh, went directly back and got a graduate assistant job at the University of Auburn, and stayed at Auburn for 1 year, got my master's degree in college administration, uh, and then was hired back at my alma mater, West Georgia, uh, by Glenn Spencer. Stayed there for 3 years, and then went to Minnesota State for 2 years, and then came back to Georgia and, excuse me, went to Camden County, there for 13 years. Gosh, almost lost track. I went to Camden, went to Lowndes for 3 years, uh, as a defensive coordinator. I was defense coordinator at Camden the last 5 years I was there. Then went to Lowndes as defensive coordinator for 3 years. Uh, then took the head job at Hillgrove High School for 1 year. Came back and was the uh, assistant head coach with Justin Rogers at Moultrie for 1 year, and then got the job at Cook. Stayed at Cook for 4 years, and like you mentioned at the beginning of the show, just recently got the job at Brunswick High School.
Man, that is awesome. I forgot that I knew you GA'd at Auburn, but I didn't know that you spent more time in the college ranks. So how was coaching college football back then as opposed to what
Man,
everybody says it is now?
yeah, it was. I want to say I liked it. I worked when I was at West Georgia. Glenn Spencer, has since retired. He bounced around college ball. He was a great recruiter. Uh, he was at Oklahoma State. I remember they did a big special on him at Oklahoma State. His beautiful uh, wife, Angela. Uh, actually, him and his wife bought my boy the first pack of diapers he ever had. She was an unbelievable lady, uh, and she had uh, heart issues ever since she was a child. But I think it was about 5 or 6 years, maybe 7 years ago or so, maybe a little longer than that. Well, he was the defensive coordinator at Oklahoma State at the time, and I think he left the game, left the team because his wife was transitioning, and they did a big special on it and whatnot. How he wasn't with the team at the time, but she had since passed. But he is one of the best people you ever meet. Hired me back. I didn't have any experience coaching a full-time job. And man, if he actually left West Georgia and went to Georgia Tech after 2 years there. And had he never left West Georgia, I'd be sitting down there in Carrollton, Georgia, right now, making $25,000 a year. That's how much I liked working for him. But it was, I want to say, pure, if that's the word. I love the chase, the recruiting, and you had to you had to work, and I liked that part of it. That was back in the day when camera phones had just come out. The huddle and all that stuff was just getting going, or DSV at the time. And heck, I remember going to games and get somebody to go with you, and you go and stand by the gate. And when a kid walked by, you kind of move towards him, and your buddy would take the picture of him so you can really verify how tall he was. You know what I mean? And doing stuff like that, it's kind of gone by the wayside now. But I liked it. I loved the chase and going to see kids. I love meeting people, getting them to come to your school and talking to them and whatnot. Obviously, learning it all too. Learning from some really good people. But to now it's just golly. I don't know. I don't know how much. Uh, how much coaching. I know there's some guys out there doing some great things, but I mean, nowadays it kind of comes down to how much money you got. You can give enough people enough money, you're almost guaranteed to be good, and that's a unique situation. And how long that lasts is going to be interesting. How long this current way of doing things can sustain itself is going to be an interesting deal. I don't know of too many companies that are run by arguably one of the most self-centered people. I was playing a 19-year-old male, and they're in charge of running a multi-billion-dollar company where they have all the cards and they get all the money. Uh, eh, at some point, something's got to give. That business model isn't the best one if you look at it for what it is.
So after college, you went to Camden County and got to experience the quote unquote golden age of Camden County football they've tried to get back to since. 13 years
Yeah.
at Camden County. I bet that was pretty awesome building that
It,
thing up and having all the success y'all had.
it was again, another person, Jeff Herring. It's just, working for him. He's one of the smartest. I've been fortunate. Man. I've been fortunate in my coaching career. Worked with some good people. And Jeff Herring's just another guy. Talk to him as much as I can. He usually calls me, I tell him jokes and stuff. He loves to laugh now. And Coach Herring he's a laugher now. He's so serious, man. But I want to tell on him and spill the beans on him. But man, that guy loves to laugh, man. And so he's so fun to be around.
Tyler Reddick here from 2311 Racing. Victory Lane? Yeah, it's even better with Chumba by my side. Race to ChumbaCasino.com. Let's Chumba.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See T&Cs. 21 plus. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
And obviously, he taught me so much in the coaching. One thing that he taught me that I'm not ashamed to say is that he taught me that you, as a coach, you got to see the good in kids, man. And he never really gave it that much credit. Obviously, my little time spent in college ball, the motivation was different. But when you get to high school, even when you're not a head coach, one first thing out your mouth, I'd kick him off the team, or I'd do this, or I'd do that. He just pulled me to the side one day and he said, "Listen, man, uh, man, if you're gonna be in this business, you're gonna have to learn how to see the good in kids. The answer isn't always to boot them off the team or to do this or do that." He said, "Because there's good in all of them. You just got to strip away all the other stuff. Some of them you have a little bit less to strip away. Some of them have a lot, but there's good in all of them." So that was one of the biggest lessons that he taught me, that I kind of stick to. But it was during those times, man, a bunch of great players come through there. Community was awesome. And it was fun. One of my fondest memories, being up there. I think you can see it on the internet. We're playing Noonan in the third or fourth round, I forget, but we're actually walking on the field, and there's kids on the field, and the line of kids goes down the sideline, out through the back of the end zone, out the gate, up the sidewalk, into the gym. So you can actually see this shot where a kid's still coming out of the gym and a kid's actually walking on the field. I don't know how many kids we took up there. That it must have been 200 something plus kids. So it was awesome. And you're right. It was a great time to be a Camden County Wildcat.
So after that, you went to Lowndes.
Yeah. Yeah. That was Coach Coffee stepped down, took an AD job. Coach Fires came in from North Gwinnett and relieved me of my duties as the defensive coordinator, and was fortunate enough to get picked up by Randy McPherson and Coach McPherson. And I went over the Lowndes. Man, personally, just personally, and I guess you could say, if it's correct to say statistically, as a coach, was probably the three of the most productive years in my career. I fell into just such a good situation uh, at Lowndes, player wise and whatnot. And, he's another one. I mean, there's not a lot of people that say they got to work for two Hall of Fame coaches, but I am 100% sure that will be the case. I know Coach Aaron's already in the National Football, High School Football Hall of Fame, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know how long you have to be out to be in the Georgia Hall of Fame, but for him and Coach McPherson both, it'll be that time and in 1 second before they're both in. But yeah, I went to Lowndes, and man, we talking about fun coaching for Coach McPherson. He was a master at making kids tough and making kids believe that being tough is honorable, which is something that I think is, man, fallen by the wayside in our game. Uh, but he was a master at that, and the things he did, I still use in what I do, practice wise and preparation wise, to make it. This is still, despite all the changes and despite all the rules and people saying different things about our game, it is still a game where 11 guys get with one side and the 11 guys get in front of them, and they run at each other and knock each other down and try to grab the guy with a little brown ball and sling him down as many times as they can. So, uh, yeah, this game is for tough people, and Coach McPherson was a master at making kids understand that, and not only understand it, want it, and relish it. Uh, and it was a really great, productive time in my career.
So then your first head coaching job came at Hillgrove, correct?
It did. It did. You know, I, I get a bad rap, or I don't. I guess Hillgrove gets a bad rap, whatever. But uh, I went up there and man was going. The kids were good, and everything was going along fine. And I guess 20 or 19 days on the job, and the entire planet shut down due to COVID. And that was a unique experience. Just having to go through that as a first year head coach. And I think in hindsight, the physicality of the way I practiced and having to come in there with kids that weren't used to it. I mean, we went 4-5. Of course, we got COVIDed out one game, but our, our wins were McEachern, Marietta, Westlake, and Gainesville, you know. And I think we're up at Gainesville. We lost 4 kids that night due to injury and other stuff. I think 4 kids to injury. So we got in the region and didn't win a region ball game from that point on. And it was a learning experience. Uh, I learned a lot from it, and had some. Again, they've always had players at Eagle Grove. I think they did a deal on him. Jalen Royals, the year I was there, Jalen Royals played for our club then, and he was drafted 2nd round. I mean, heck, Miles Murphy was still in the building. Jalen Royals was an eventual draft pick. Kenyon Drake, Bradley Chubb, Evan Ingram. I mean, all them guys were in 6 years of each other. So I was fortunate to get there, and things didn't work out. I just felt like I needed to make a change due to some unforeseen circumstances with the staff and whatnot. So I headed back down to Moultrie for after 1 year and worked with Justin Rogers, another good guy, man, one of the great preparers that you'll ever be around. Um, did a great job. I mean, him and got to be really good friends during that point. Spent 1 year there.
You got to reset and then get back in the head coaching chair at Cook.
Absolutely.
So what were some
That
things
was,
you did a little bit differently or
yeah.
learn? I mean, you learned. You learned from the first one's hard regardless. You having the
Yeah,
first one in COVID strike
yeah,
is, oh my God.
yeah. I mean, that was it was, I never felt like I got my feet on the ground just because, you couldn't establish any, consistency, not just within playing, but your schedule. Everything was just on a day-to-day basis, man. You woke up and you went, okay, are we going to practice today? If we are, how many kids are going to be there? Are we going to be able to be on time? Because we're going to have to do thermometers and all that stuff. And if so, and it was just, I'm a routine guy, and we could never get into a routine because everything was ever changing. And again, the rules were changing. Protocols changed every other day about what you could or couldn't do. And it was just a unique experience. But yeah, when I got to Cook, of course, we were coming off of COVID and got there and uh, got in there and in time enough and was able to flip some things a little bit. They had it at the time when I got there. I think maybe one person had 7 wins one time in the last 10 years. Uh, other than that, it was 500 or below, and we got in there and just a little different pace for the kids. And I think we were supposed to win 2 games that first year. We won 8 and went to the 2nd round of playoffs. Played and got put out by the eventual state champions in Thompson. Coach Youngblood and his crew. The Curry kid, John Tavius Curry, one of the better high school football players you'll ever see. In the second year, got our legs under us a little bit. Made us a nice little run. Went to the semis. The first time they had been in the semis, I think, in 17 or 18 years, and uh, got put out by Rock Martin. I think Pierce eventually won that year. And then currently have a down year the year after that, and went 4-7, and then 5-6 this past year, and still able to land the job at Brunswick.
So you move in, this your current job that you've just been on the job for a month, maybe 2, little over a month.
Yeah,
So,
about a month.
so at all these places that you go in as a head coach, what's one of the first things you try to do when you come in to establish your brand of football?
Well, the first thing that I do, and this is, I was told many moons ago, and Coach Aaron said, you got to win the kids over. A lot of people say you got to go in there and smooth the adults. You got to go meet the booster. You got to do this, which that's all part of it. But uh, I put some meetings off, and I want to be in this weight room with these kids, and I don't want to be disturbed. I literally just walked around the weight room with my camera phone and said, "Hey, tell me your name." And I got a whole phone full of just kids. My name is so and so screaming their name in there, and I'd go home and I just listened to it and over. So when I go back the next day, I know the kids' names. And if you uh, if you win them over, then the adults got to fall in line. When the kids say, "Hey, this is our coach," the adults, they a lot of times they will still try to have their say so and whatnot, but those kids will make it clear that, hey, this is the guy we want. This is the guy we want to follow. So y'all need to follow him. And so the first thing I do is I go in there and I get with those kids, man, and I try to figure them out and try to let them know that, hey, man, I'm here. And I think if we put our heads together, we be the judge of what we do. We be the judge of uh, how if we're getting better and whatnot, and we're the ones that are doing this. So uh, let's stick together and be one. And when you do that, I think everybody else has to fall in line, man. So I really put an emphasis on getting the kids, winning the kids over.
What are some things over the years that you've changed as far as how you approach spring football?
Some of the, I guess the biggest thing that I have changed is I think uh, well, a guy made a great point one day. I was actually speaking up at Brunswick. Victor Ford was there, and he brought one of his buddies in from South Carolina, and he made a very astute observation and said, you know, football, the game isn't changing. This was 10 years ago, and all the spread, the fast pace, all that stuff. He said the game isn't changing. He said what's changing is practice. He said, because somehow it was a defensive clinic. He said, somehow these offensive guys are taking the same kills that you claim that you can't make any adjustments with, which you got to dumb it down for, and you got to make it simple for. These offensive guys are still running power and counter and two or three other plays. They're doing it out of 80,000 different formations, all with the coach stand on the sideline and making some little funny hand signal, and they're scrambling around and doing all this different stuff. He said, so what's changing is practice because somehow they're able to practice all of this stuff. So, one of the things I changed was trying not to do everything every day and adding in the old installation where you just say, hey, we're going to do this. Now, the offensive guys will come in, they want to have their entire offense in on the first day. Defensively, I will say, the offensive guys, I don't ever hold them back or tell them what they can or can't do. But defensively, we're going to put 3 or 4 calls in a day, 3 or 4 calls in a day, and make sure we stick with it. And um, so I guess the biggest thing is, offensively, kind of having two different installations. Offense, I think it's important to be able to have a lot in and build on stuff quicker than it is defense. I'm gonna line up and give yourself a chance to go and tackle people on defense. That's that's I just believe that. Yeah, you can do that. I just want to line up and give my kids a chance to go and tackle the guy and not be out of position, not be worried about doing this or doing that, and not even give yourself a chance. Now, offensively, I think that changes a little bit. You have to be able to take advantage of some matchups and whatnot, and so you do have to have a little bit more in.
So how do you do what's your approach to summer? Like how are you guys gonna attack summer at Brunswick this year? You gonna do it the same way you did at Cook, or is it a little bit different because it's a different place? I mean, what are your
Well,
plans for summer?
it's a little different just because of the numbers. At Cook, we were we were heck, we'd come in and lift and uh, flip flop, and I mean we were in and out in 2.5 hours. We just didn't have the numbers to be up there all day and run wearing them out. So I think the biggest difference that I do at Brunswick is pretty much what everybody does that has the numbers. We'll practice offense and defense. You know, at Cook we kind of went uh, offense for half and then defense for half. We'll be able to go offense and defense at the same time, have a little bit of a crossover period with those, apex guys that we think are going to have to play both sides of the ball and be able to do that. So that in turn still will kind of statement out. One of the biggest deals that we got going is we got in a new facility up there at Brunswick, and we probably, we may be pushing it a little bit, but we'll have 100 and something we can probably fit, comfortably in there. Close to 100 kids. So we will probably able to all go in the weight room together. And that's huge because you cut out a segment. Now I'm a firm believer in letting them have a summer and letting them be kids. I don't like having them up there all day long. I think it's just me personally. You really plan on playing 15 games, then your kids better not be sick of football come November. And I think nothing make them sick of football more than just keeping them up there all day and all night in the summer and whatnot. So man, we're gonna get in there and get going about 8 o'clock, and I want them out of there about 11:30 at the latest. And we're gonna go Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday before the dead week. Monday through Thursday after the dead week. And I just believe that and giving them some time because if you truly, truly plan on playing, you don't want your kids being sick of football around the beginning of November because that's really when you just start.
So if a young guy came up to Dr. Slack right now and said, Coach, you've been a mentor of mine. I played for you. I'm coaching for you, or he's an assistant coach or whatever. And he said, Coach, I'm thinking about being a high school football coach. What would you tell him?
Mm, man, that's a good question. Um, I date myself. I tell him one. I said I would tell him then go and ask. Don't be afraid. Everybody else says don't be afraid to ask people questions, but I believe being on the grass is the best way to learn stuff. I know YouTube and all that stuff is great, but uh, a lot of the younger guys in our profession, here I am dating myself, the young guys, but and it's no indictment on anybody. Yeah, those are resources, YouTube and stuff like that. However, go and sit and ask somebody, hey man, what is this, or how do you do this? Uh, and get firsthand accounts, and then form your own philosophy after you've studied and done the legwork on it. Even in the strength game, I don't ever do anything defensively. Just it looks cool. Well, I'm gonna do that. Well, I want. Why are you doing that? I do that in the weight room. What does that exercise do? Oh, I saw so and so do it. Well, what's the science behind it? What does it work? And how does it improve this, or how does it improve that? And how is it applicable or in between those right lines? And if you can't tell me that, then I'm not just going to do it in the weight. And the same thing goes on the field. So I tell them, hey man, make sure you are studying your craft and building your philosophy around what you know, not what somebody else knows. Um, and second, I would say, hey man, make sure you pick your significant other wisely. Uh, that when I've seen a bunch of young coaches make some bad decisions based on their. I guess that's probably not the best way to say it. Uh, but like they say, being a coach's wife, it's hard, man. You got to have a special woman that does it. It's got to understand that. Um, and a lot of young cats getting there. It always befuddles me when somebody says, "Yeah, I wouldn't mind taking that job, but man, my wife wouldn't want to live there." And I go, you know, Why you want to look at you? Is that what you're saying? You know, and that's I'm being funny about it, but it really is a situation where, man, if that job you think is gonna be good for you in your career, obviously we're not saying, hey, you just do it, I'm gonna do it, and you don't follow me. But when you have a significant other that understands that, hey, baby, we can go, I can take this job now. There ain't but two places to eat, and there ain't but this and that. But this is the best opportunity for me to get to the next point A or point B or do whatever. To have somebody who understands that is huge for you in your career. So I just say, hey, man, just make sure that whoever you're involved with understands that part of it. Because in our profession, man, you can go one wrong turn. And I mean, heck, I believe everything happens for a reason. I said I'm a believer. However, he also gives us free will to make decisions. And what you want to do is have the ability to make those decisions with somebody in your corner that understands it.
Coach, I sure have enjoyed listening to your story. I was guaranteed it was a very unique, and man, it was. I didn't realize that you grew up in Alaska and had so many other brothers that you had to fight with and contend with and play with growing up and growing up and being in the military, coaching in college. I mean, what an awesome career you've had thus far. And I appreciate you finding the good in young people and continuing to pour into them, because I know you're going to do it, Brunswick. I can't wait to see what you get accomplished over there.
Hey man, that process, I think it's the second time I did a podcast. It's the first time I'd ever just been on a podcast and talk, man. It was cool, man. And I appreciate you considering me and having me on. And if there's ever any time you call or do it again, man, please don't hesitate. Thanks a lot, and go Pirates.
Thanks, Coach.
Tyler Reddick here from 2311 Racing. Victory Lane? Yeah, it's even better with Chumba by my side. Race to ChumbaCasino.com. Let's Chumba.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See T&Cs. 21 plus. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
If you work in university maintenance, Granger considers you an MVP because your playbook ensures your arena is always ready for tip-off. And Granger is your trusted partner, offering the products you need all in one place, from HVAC and plumbing supplies to lighting and more. And all delivered with plenty of time left on the clock, so your team always gets the win. Call 1-800-GRANGER, visit Granger.com, or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.